Howdy. Thanks for joining me for another hard talk. So this one is titled Free Will or Fated. I've thought about this idea for quite some time and can see both sides of the debate. I often wonder why I'm so obsessed with being free and seeking truth. Did I ever have a choice not to? Or is it this slavish environment I find myself in, forcing me to head towards a balanced state? Or is this the real me, beyond time and space, shining through my avatar, my higher spiritual self, an eternal lover of freedom and the adventures that come with it, enjoying my divine nature with endless possibilities and endless adventures, always a twist, always an unknown to uncover in this infinite creation we share. I think you make a choice to have free will or to become fated by another. If you've been paying attention to the free will debate online, you've probably heard of this character, Sam Harris. I pulled a few things from his Wikipedia page, and before I say anything about Wikipedia, it's owned by intelligence agencies, and Wikipedia is always going to cast a good light on their psyops and the people they support. So do not trust Wikipedia, okay? I'm just pulling this from Wikipedia because it's accurate on this guy, one of their guys. But Wikipedia is just propaganda, and that's according to the co-founder, Larry Sanger. So I'll leave a clip. If you don't believe me, if you think Wikipedia is always truthful, it's extremely compromised. But you could use it sometimes, so use your discretion. So in Sam Harris's wiki, Harris is a critic of religion and is a leading figure in the new atheist movement. Harris is particularly opposed to what he refers to as dogmatic belief and says that, quote, pretending to know things one doesn't know is a betrayal of science, and yet it is the lifeblood of religion. So I kind of agree with him there. Harris says that the idea of free will cannot be mapped onto any conceivable reality. I disagree with that one. And is incoherent. Harris writes in his book, Free Will, that neuroscience reveals you to be a biochemical puppet. So I'll play a few minutes of Sam Harris here so you get an idea of the guy and his argument. I've listened to hours of this guy, so I kind of have a feeling of his take on all this.
And I want to talk about this because the illusoriness of free will is as certain a fact as the truth of evolution, in my mind. And unlike evolution, understanding this truth about the human mind has the potential to change our sense of moral goodness and what it would mean to create a just society. The question of free will touches nearly everything people care about. Religion, public policy, politics, the legal system, feelings of personal accomplishment, emotions like guilt and pride and remorse. So much of human life seems to depend on our viewing one another as conscious agents capable of free choice. So if the scientific community were ever to declare free will an illusion, as I think we eventually must, I think it would precipitate a culture war far more acrimonious than the one that has been waged on the subject of evolution. Now, I hope to do two things in this talk. I hope to convince you that free will is an illusion. And so I hope to take up the challenge that Dinesh laid down in the debate. And it's worse than an illusion. It's actually a totally incoherent idea, which is to say it's impossible to describe a universe in which it could be true. Not only is it untrue, it's hard to make sense of what's even being claimed to be true. And I also hope to convince you that understanding this truth about the human mind actually matters, and that it can change the way we view morality and questions of justice. Now, the popular conception of free will seems to rest on two assumptions. The first is that each of us was free to behave differently than we did in the past. You became a fireman, and yet you could have become a policeman. You chose chocolate, but you could have chosen vanilla. It certainly seems like this is the world we're living in. The second assumption is that we are the conscious source of our thoughts and actions. And so that your experience of wanting to do something is, in fact, the proximate cause of your doing that something. You feel that you want to move, and then you move. Okay, you are doing it. You, the conscious witness of your life. Now, unfortunately, we know that both of these assumptions are just untrue. The first problem is that we live in a world of cause and effect, and there's no way of thinking about cause and effect that allows us to say that the buck stops here. Okay, the buck never stops. Okay, either our wills are determined by prior causes, a long chain of prior causes, and we're not responsible for them, or they're the product of chance, and we're not responsible for them, or there's some combination of chance and determinism. But no combination seems to give you the free will that people cherish.
Now I have to disagree with Sam and state my point of view. Only in this age of monumental stupidity and mind slavery would you ever even have this debate. I know that I have free will, and I have demonstrated it my entire life. Since I was a child, I have been building scenarios in my life that will lead to truth and freedom. At every chapter of my life, I chose to test my reality and let the truth unravel itself over time. I have built my reality based off first-hand experience. Not a theory, not a belief, or what an authority's told me to believe. While most people cast me as a troublemaker, when I was younger, I was only testing the boundaries of this reality innocently. It is my right to know what is real and to have my own thoughts on it without anyone ever trying to invade my head. This is my sacred space. And it's just a shame how children don't get to have their sacred space and they're just constantly attacked from the outside in this age. And they're called troublemakers. They're made examples of, because they are the last vestige of freedom. The kids that act out and don't obey. I had the courage to say no and stay open to the truth. It really doesn't matter what anybody has to say about it. Plenty of spellcasters would like to twist my reality and use me in their grand game of chess. But I know what I have done. I built the character I am. While the rulers of society tried to control my fate, I took it back and claimed responsibility for all my actions and outcomes. On the other hand, I see why people agree with Sam. Wouldn't it be nice to blame somebody else for all the troubles in your life? It just fated. I didn't do anything. It just happened that way. I didn't have a choice. If your life sucks, just keep saying you never had a choice anyway, the classic saying, now sucks to suck. Many people find comfort in this reality. Forever an infant, refusing to grow up and take responsibility for their actions. Refusing to become a creator, you get created on or fated by someone else. Praying to God or government to live life for you and do what needs to be done. You are fated, giving up your life to systems of control or belief. It's like going beyond being ignorant and accepting you're just a spiritless robot here to serve man or to serve God like a dog. Just seems like another spell cast to rob you of your spiritual powers here. As always, you have a choice to accept this spell or not. Another way to view this debate is through the lens of the past, the present, and the future. I think that in order for you to have free will, you must live in this present moment, right here, right now, and recognize your ability to reshape your future. You recognize that you are creating your reality each moment. And you're okay with making mistakes. You take responsibility for your actions. You learn from your mistakes, You don't act like you're perfect and everybody else is perfect and just be a hypocrite, You're not afraid to experience life as it is in front of you, raw and unknown with infinite possibilities. On the other hand, I think most people live a life based off past traumas or a promised future that never comes true. They choose to give their creative powers to tricksters who would use it against them. While everything around you is fine in this present moment, and that's relatively speaking, things could always get better, obviously, but we got it pretty nice, in the way we have it. But while everything around you is fine in this present moment, somebody convinces you to act in a way that harms yourself and others based off some false story from the past, fake history, or a false future scenario that never happens. I got the easiest example of that. The pandemic of 2020, where they promised you the sky was falling and everybody's going to die. And what do you know? Nothing happened. 2 weeks to flatten the curve turned into 2 years of lockdown. Billions were going to die based off fabricated computer models, when in fact more people died in 2019 than in 2020. If you're paying any attention to this age, it's just unbelievable what goes on around us. The television broadcasters played their part, casting non-stop fear spells of a future that never came, causing the weak-minded to give up the little freedoms they still had, like breathing or traveling. People literally gave up their ability to breathe. And they still to this day, some people wear the face diaper. If you understood how your health actually worked, you're suffocating yourself and you're breathing back in any toxins that you're supposed to be excreting out. Viruses aren't real, by the way. They've never isolated them. You should check out Tom Cowan and the whole terrain theory versus the germ theory. But yeah, hey, people gave up their breathing ability. They gave up their ability to travel. They gave up their ability to make a living, based off of woo-woo, what the broadcasters told you. But now the safe and effective seed has been planted. You just weren't told it was a safe and effective way to control the population. Using the trump card, they got you to destroy your own health and small businesses at the same time. And I can go on and on about all that, but do we have free will? Or has our fate been predetermined by forces outside of our control? Or is it a combination of both? It would be nice for a lot of people who have acted in a reckless way in this realm to not be held responsible for what they have done. It was all predetermined, you know. Just following orders. Oh, I was just following my orders. I had no free will. I just was doing what I was told. Just another form of blaming somebody else for your mistakes. Instead of owning up to your actions, right? It's just, instead of just owning up to you making a mistake, like they've created this whole idea that you don't even have free will. It's just, this age and the mind tricks that go on are just, whew. But on the other hand, if you've built something beautiful, you'd like to think you were responsible for it, right? Like, you created beauty when you could have made something ugly, you know, so where's the free will in that? Or if you discovered a way to heal a past trauma, or if you righted a wrong that you made in the past, you know, wouldn't that require you to have changed and to have free will to correct things? You obviously had the free will to heal past traumas or not. Just, you know, keep going down the ignorance train. Just the fact that you can decide to view your life as free will or fated should tell you something about this debate. You have a choice. This is a choice just like all the choices you've made in the past. The principle of cause and effect. Following orders and living in fear is a choice that seals your fate. Submitting your mind to anything is a quick way to become fated in this realm. I always thought this was a silly debate. But the people of this age have become hardened and robotic in nature. They basically became adults. And it's not what you think it is when somebody calls you an adult. Adult is short for adultery or an adulterer. When you join society and follow man's law, you become an adulterer of the spiritual laws that were wrote on your heart. I mean, you have to realize, when you were a child, you had all the answers. Before they took you and twisted you, your heart knew what was right and wrong. But then you grow up and become an adulterer, and you follow man's law, and you follow all these religious books that literally go against the spiritual laws or the natural laws. You willingly choose to go against your divine nature when you follow man's law. Pretty clever way to damn your soul. You know, they get you to damn yourself. It's the only way this would work. You know, just remember, you always have a choice. And the elimination of choice is a choice. The spiritual battle rages on in this age of total deception. The truth is belligerent and does not care how anyone feels about it. Spiritual laws will always supersede man's word and the paper it was printed on. It does not matter how many adults or adulterers sign the piece of paper or follow the orders. There will be a price to pay for this betrayal of spirit. The fated pay the price every day. When their number is called, they must fulfill their end of the bargain.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I mean, I made a bargain with it, you know. long time ago, and I'm holding up my end
What was your bargain?
to get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
The tricksters of this age always have another dark spell to cast, as long as they have an audience. The fated gather around their televisions each night, eagerly awaiting the next spell from their broadcasters, hardening their hearts and joining with the mad men of this age in their grand experiment against their own spiritual nature. Lost in the sauce of Maya, forever fated by another, they chose bestiality over spirituality. So I hope this is a fiery one. Sometimes I just gotta let it go, let it flow, because it's just so silly for people to be thinking they don't have a choice and that their fate is sealed. But see, when you think that way, your fate is sealed. You become fated by whoever you're following, whatever religious dogma you follow, whatever government you follow, whatever person, man. If you're not deciding your own fate each day, and you got to be spontaneous, right? You can't be predictable. When you become predictable, somebody's going to snatch you up and use you. So you got to be wild and free to have free will. And you got to take it a day at a time. You might have, I have like an overarching goal, an overarching plan. But each day, I can switch it up. I can change, I think we all have this ability within us to kind of be a wild thing, or to be the wild card here, instead of just being fated by another. So I love you all. Enjoy yourselves. Don't become fated.